when you get talks about someone about like Darren Grimes, honestly, it feels like it's shooting fish in a barrel, kicking a puppy, etc. Pick your favorite, beating a dead horse, words you could possibly think of. Each one is probably going to be just as very, very apt. And just like, Aid, you know, um, Darren was or Grimesy was AIDS, number one thing to pick on back during the GB news days, and of course his independent run, and now of course he's a councillor, deputy leader of the council, in fact, for Durham Council. Things aren't, of course, going well, and we've covered this numerous times. In fact, there is I believe, a scrutiny meeting coming up in the not too distant future for Durham, which might be quite fun to watch on that front. So we'll get there when we get there. But um, one thing in particular, that has been very, very interesting is the fact that you've got to remember Darren Grimes has said a lot of this. He has done this stuff and said what he has said because he is a political provocateur. He does this stuff because he knows it gets attention. He knows he says the stuff that his audience wants to hear. That's why he does and says all this controversial stuff and then hides behind the veil of free speech, saying, "How dare you criticize me for saying that?" But as we've always said, free speech is a double-edged sword. It cuts both ways. And in particular, it's now costing the people of Durham quite a bit of money for these complaints. Now, remember, these complaints are against these Reform UK people for doing various numbers of different things, from bringing the council into disrepute to, even in some interesting cases, and I'd love to see if these are the ones that are going through, not representing people of a different viewpoint, of a different political view. I think it's different viewpoint or different political affiliation, which, okay. I think one of these might get him in a lot of trouble. A lot of trouble. We'll see though if it does happen, but it's good to see that these types of complaints and him constantly having to defend himself are quite getting his under his skin. So people of Durham, keep on complaining about anything and everything you see about Darren Grimes. Um, he deserves it. He really, really does. But anyway, before we go on in today's story, please do, of course, remember to click on the like, share, and subscribe button down below. Don't forget to, of course, ring the bell as well so you get notifications when we go live. There are links down below to the Patreon page, the Buy Me Coffee link, where you can buy me coffee, the YouTube thank you button, and of course, as always, there's the YouTube membership button as well. And of course, 'tis Wednesday, so there is a new video for all the Patreon members and, of course, the YouTube members as well. And of course, you can scan this QR code up in the top corner, and that will take you straight to the Patreon page as well. So thank you very much for all the support and stuff that you guys do show the channel. And of course, don't forget to leave a link, a comment down below as well. That helps with the algorithm as well. So let's crack on then into this and see just how upset poor Grimesy is about receiving all these complaints. Anyway, so a Freedom of Information request made by the Northern Echo has now revealed that there have been over 172 complaints about councillors in just 4 months since May the 1st local election, with 34 leading to actual investigations, and 21 of those are against the deputy leader, Darren Grimes. If you may remember, a couple of months ago, we already covered this, that if you looked at like this time last year during this period, there was something like 3 or 4 complaints, and now there's like 172 complaints on this. So you can tell very, very clearly that there are people in Durham who do care about what goes on their local council, and they are not happy that these Reform people are in charge, which is very, very good, to be honest. It is very good to see that even at local politics, there are people who are politically active and know how to get under people like this as skin. So these complaints against the Reform UK board member include allegations of bringing the council into disrepute, failing to treat people with respect, and not representing people of a differing view. That was it. So, yeah, I think all those three, pretty bad, to be honest. Pretty bad indeed. So, Councillor Grimes has said that all these complaints have now highlighted the quote, scandal of persecution against him for quote, speaking common sense, and vowed not to be silenced. Except, no, some of these quote, common sense talking points aren't common sense at all. They're incredibly racist, or, someone he represents, and has to, represent, you have to represent someone of a differing point of view, even if they didn't vote for you. Looks like you're not, helping someone of that, and that's what your job is to do, to help people of your constituency, even if you did not vote for them. That is a big part of our politics. And if he's not doing that, then that does represent a very, very big problem for a lot of people living in that area. So he claimed that all these investigations that were now carried out by Durham County Council have cost taxpayers over £1,100,000. The Echo understands that this figure is an estimate value of officers' time spent on the complaints. So it's not even the actual real figure, it's just an estimate value that he's put forward. The Anfield, Plain and Tanfield councillor, Grimes, said that I thank the Northern Echo for highlighting this very serious reality of political persecution in County Durham. It's not political persecution. They are taking it to you against it. You are saying this stuff and they're going, yeah, I have a problem with the councillor saying that because, that brings the council to disrepute. You're not treating people with respect. What about people that you represent with differing, points of view? How are you going to sort of represent them? I wouldn't be surprised if other councils with reform people are experiencing very similar things. So he said that the quote, the data is very clear. I am the single most targeted politician here because I dare to speak common sense on issues that the left activists hate, such as scrapping net zero. It's not really common sense to scrap net zero, but there you go. Cancelling racist diversity, equality, and inclusion policies. That actually will lead to a big negative effect on the council, but there you go. And of course, finally tackling the scourge of Westminster migrant HMOs. HMOs weirdly tend to be a very hot button topic on these things. I think HMOs are quite a big problem, but why are they going after HMOs specifically? Because most sort of migrants or people of low income, or do we say people of color, can't probably afford a normal rent. So what's been the option for a lot of these people? To go for HMOs. HMOs have become an even bigger thing over the last couple of years. So they are being targeted not because of like, oh, it's a HMO, bad landlord thing, these places don't tend to be very well upkept. No, it's being targeted done for quite a racist reason. Let's face it. Anyway, he continued. He said, "Your freedom of information request, of course, confirms the abuse of 21 out of the 34 complaints, even warranting investigation, were of course against me. Yet, the key figure is that 0 complaints against me have actually been upheld. This isn't about standards, it's about a coordinated countrywide campaign of harassment designed to silence a democratically elected voice." Then, this is where this reporting falls short. The Northern Echo should have gone further and actually talked more about what these complaints actually were, and then challenged him on some of these complaints. Do you think it was right that someone complained against you for this reason? That's what I would have liked to have seen. That's where I think this reporting has fallen short. Because I would have loved to have seen that. 4 currently complaints against Councillor Grimes have yet to, of course, be resolved. I have a very strange feeling there's going to be a lot more complaints against him throughout his political career. Reform UK, the Lib Democrats, and the Conservative councillors are all, of course, subject to complaints to Durham County Council, with, of course, 7 investigations currently ongoing. Those, of course, include against Councillor Grimes. Councillor Grimes, of course, claimed that many of these complaints came from outside of County Durham, and his proposed amendments now to the Code of Conduct would, of course, protect freedom of speech and the council's budget. These wouldn't. Those proposed amendments would basically allow councillors to say even more crazy and outrageous things that bring, Durham County Council into a very, very big disrepute. Very, very much so on that one. Also, again, many of these claims come outside County Durham. Okay, prove it. This is where I think the freedom of information request, I don't know if they got a chance to see these complaints. That's what they should have really gone after. Get that freedom of information request and then try and get these complaints and see what those are like. But again, it continues. He also added, if activists and their media allies want to waste £11,000, of course, trying to, of course, censor an elected representative, they should at least have the decency to pay the bill themselves. That money could go on care, not baseless complaints. I will not be silenced for speaking up for my residents, the county, and the country. Well, again, apparently only some residents in that regard, apparently, according to some of those complaints. No, you have to pay that fine because you are the one saying that thing. This is what these free speech fundamentalists like Grimes always get confused. Yet you can say whatever you want, but here's the thing. There are going to be consequences for your speech. That includes someone, criticizing your speech, probably, calling you a racist if you said something racist. And in this case, when you are an elected official, there are processes that people can go through to say, hey, what this elected official said, who is, elected to represent people of this ward, I don't find that, very good. I think that brings the council into disrepute. I think that doesn't treat people with respect. I also think that, I'm not a member of, Reform UK. I didn't vote for him. How do I know that if I take a complaint seriously to Mr. Grimes, bear in mind he's still not doing surgeries apparently. So why is that going to be taken, seriously? These aren't baseless claims. This is the stuff that Grimes is saying, and he is costing this council money. I think that should be absolutely brought up. That it's not the council, it's not the rules, it's not the people making these complaints. It's Darren Grimes himself that is causing the people of County Durham this amount of money to have to pay for his freedom of speech. If anything, it shouldn't be the activists that have to pay these bills. It should be Grimes himself who has to pay those bills because he's the one saying that stuff. That's where I think it should really lie. That's who should really be picking up the bill, Darren. Anyway, May's, of course, election culminated a very historic win for Reform UK, which took over control of Durham County Council for the very first time, winning an outright majority as the party swept to victory on the local authority. After the election, the deputy leader was, of course, very much criticised for his controversial social media posts. The council, of course, had confirmed that it received complaints over a joke he made about grooming gangs. Again, that was him making that joke. He should have to pick up the bill. Someone start a petition on that. Make every time that, if he's so upset about the council spending this money, make him be the one that picks up the bill. Please, someone start that as a petition, or someone put that as a proposal to Durham County Council. I would love to see that happen and what their response to that is. It won't go through because they're in the majority, but it would be fun to see their reaction on that one. So a council spokesperson said, we've of course carefully consider all complaints received in regulation to our conduct of our elected members. Of the 172 complaints received against the county councillors since the 1st of May, only 34 have actually engaged the member code of conduct and should at least be considered under the complaints procedure. No further action is, of course, currently deemed necessary in relation to currently 27 complaints, 7 of which currently remain under review. Here's the ones at the moment. Most of them, as you will see, like Reform UK. There's only 2 against the Liberal Democrats, 1 against the Conservatives, and that would probably be it. If Reform UK hadn't won, that would probably be it. And I wouldn't be too surprised if there's a very similar thing going on with these councils. Would not be surprised if there's, again, a very similar thing going on in these councils. And I think councillors and other people who now have these people in charge should probably bring this up. And bring this up to the fact that, well, if you are getting so many complaints, maybe it's not a them problem. Maybe it's a you problem, Grimesy. So, as always, do let me know what you think, especially you are from Durham. I'm always very interested to know what you think as well. And of course, as always, don't forget to click the like, share, and of course, subscribe button down below. Don't forget to ring the bell as well so you get notifications. And of course, if you do leave a comment, it does very much help with all the algorithm stuff as well. So thank you very much for watching. And of course, as always, we'll see you all next time.